Scheduled meeting to order. Please rise to the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please remain standing for a moment of silent reflection for our servicemen and women throughout the world, and also for those who have passed away in our community. Especially former Scranton Mayor and retired Lackawanna County Senior Judge, the Honorable James J. Walsh. Thank you. Roll call, please.
Mr. Perry?
Here.
Mr. Donahue?
Here.
Mr. Gahn?
Here.
Mr. Rogan?
I would like to make a motion to take from the table file of the council number 66, 2019.
On the question? This piece is being taken from the table and placed in seventh order for final vote. This ordinance will create a special city escrow account for funds received from rental payments for tenants whose landlords have failed to comply with registering their rental properties. Anyone who wishes to speak on this particular piece of legislation may do so during fourth order citizens' participation. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it and so moved.
I'd like to make a motion to appoint Councilman Donahue as temporary chairperson for the Committee on Finance.
Second.
On the question, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Ayes have it and so moved.
I'd like to make a motion to appoint Councilman Perry as temporary chairperson for the Committee on Rules.
Second.
On the question, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it and so moved. Dispense with reading of the minutes.
Third order, 3A, Tax Assessor's Results Report for hearing date held July 17, 2019. 3B, Tax Assessor's Reports for hearing dates to be held August 14 and August 21, 2019. 3C, Agenda for the Board of Zoning Appeals meeting to be held August 14, 2019.
Are there any comments? If not, received and filed. Do any council members have any announcements at this time?
Yes, I have two quick ones. The deadline for the Community Development Block Grant funding for the 2020 year has been extended. Applications will be accepted until August 23rd. The extension is due to low turnout in applicants. Any questions, please call 570-348-4216, and that's the city's Office of Community Development. And also, the fourth annual Bob McGough 5K Run, 1 mile walk will be held on August 25th, 2019. The race will start at 9 a.m. at Connors Park. Race registration will be from 7:30 to 8:45. A $20 registration fee will be assessed if you sign up early. It's a $25 race day registration fee. And it's also the final leg of the Scranton City Council Cup. Sign up or donate at bobmcgough5k.org. For additional info, call 570-344-6759. And that's all I have.
Yes, I have one as well. I just want to announce again, as I did last week, benefit is going to be taking place for my two uncles. Friends and family have planned a benefit for John and Billy Trentley. Both brothers were diagnosed with cancer within 2 weeks of each other. John has advanced prostate cancer and Billy has multiple myeloma. Together, along with their families, they are facing this battle. The benefit will be held September 21st from 4 p.m. to 8 p.m. at St. Mary's Center in Scranton to help defray the cost of treatments and travel expenses to Sloan Kettering Hospital in New York City. Tickets are $20 and are available at the door. There will be basket raffles, basket of cheer, 50-50, entertainment, food, wine, and beer. If you would like to donate a basket or volunteer, please call Ann at 570-290-5518 or Peggy at 570-468-5068. Please come out to support two wonderful men and their battle and help them with their battle with cancer. Thank you.
We have received all our letters of interest and resumes for the vacant council seat. We'll be holding a special meeting for the purpose of conducting interviews in the very near future. All those who have submitted a resume will be contacted once this date has been set. And also, council's next regularly scheduled weekly meeting following our August recess will be held on Monday, September 9th at 6 p.m. back to normal time.
Fourth order, citizens' participation.
Our first speaker tonight is Joan Hodowanitz.
Joan Hodowanitz, city resident and taxpayer. First, I'd like to say that was a very good update that Mr. Pell, Mr. Bolzoni, and Mayor Evans gave us. I found that very well structured, and I could tell they were answering questions that you had submitted. Before you head out on your recess, I think it's wise to recap things that will be ongoing that we should not lose sight of. One, it's the rainy season, which means that a lot of city residents are going to be facing flooding issues. It's something that, I don't think that we've really gotten our arms around quite yet. The ancillary problem here is that a lot of times citizens come here asking for help because of flooding issues, and some of them don't get any help. Some of them don't even get the courtesy of a return phone call. So I hope that with Mayor Evans having come in, that if nothing else, these people get the courtesy of a phone call to be told what's going on. I just can't imagine paying taxes and them being blown off like that when you're in trouble. It's also budget season, which is always a fun time. We're looking at, the revenues and expenses for next year. Normally you would say, let's try not to, give pay raises and to do new hires. But I gotta tell you, I think you need to look closely at the breakout of personnel in the various departments. And if there is an expertise gap which is causing the city problems, maybe you want to look at a new hire. And the one I would ask you to toy with is the position of internal auditor. Okay, many times, I've assumed that the controller's office will be performing that function. But I'm thinking that maybe the business administrator should have an internal auditor, since the BA is responsible for preparing for the annual audits and should be looking at that constantly. The time to find out that you have a problem is not when the auditor gives you a report or when the FBI pays you a visit. It is an issue that you should be looking at 52 weeks a year. So you might want to consider and talk to Mr. Bolzoni about the feasibility of maybe putting in an internal auditor. Okay, if you get the right person with the right task to perform, it would pay for itself many times over. There are other issues. It is audit season. I hope that you've got the auditor earning his pay, working him to exhaustion. I know that the audit was supposed to be completed by the end of September, but that was before a lot of things happened this year. So if necessary, you might want to consider letting that slip if you're going to get your money's worth and find out what is wrong in some of our departments. And you know for a fact that there are things going wrong. Other things you want to consider when you come back on September 9th. And that's the whole issue of the city's infrastructure. And it encompasses things like a capital budget and long-term maintenance of all your real estate, including City Hall and the firehouses and all your other buildings. And then, of course, the issue of stormwater management, because you own all the stormwater sewers. So, there's only so long you can wait to wrap your arms around stormwater management. And I'm talking more than renewal of the MS4 permit. That's a big one, and that should be impacting the budget every year, and I want to see the capital budget for 2020 and how you address these issues. Getting rid of the business and mercantile tax and getting in the payroll tax, which you discussed here during the caucus, which means you're going to have to get over and talk to the school district. Some different administration needs to cozy on up to them and make sure that they do not impede you making the change. Other things is collecting the delinquent taxes and fees, and you're going to have to cozy up to the county. And with the new county commissioners coming in, the whole issue of reassessment should not die. Quality of life issues, revising the home rule charter, and recapturing the city's image as a good place to live and work. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Bob Ollis.
Afternoon, Council. Bob Bolus, Scranton. One of the things, it was nice to see people coming to the table here where we could hear and get answers to some of the questions. One of the answers I like, and Bill, we discussed it in the past, I talked to Wayne about it, is bringing the people from the parking authority and the parking garages to find out where our 500 spaces are, because they're the ones now that are accountable for it, not Basilica, who owns the mall. He signed all that over to them. So I think we're going to need to do that when you come back off vacation and have a public hearing with them. The other part is, as you're aware, I filed an injunction to stop the deal with Geisinger and Naog Park. When you look at 280 spaces, it's like 50 cents a day or something. It's an absurdity. Anybody could park there in 280 spaces, pay for the price of a Big Mac, and put that money here into the city, have the authority do something, or try and find a way to disband the Naog Park Authority. I mean, it really serves no real purpose. We should do that in-house out of the city of Scranton as one unity. For them to take all this money, first talk about doing offices like they need offices like we need a hole in a head. They didn't take care of the Paul, and I'm sure Judge Walsh is turning over right now, upset after we saw him in the paper, and I was sad to see that he passed. Judge Walsh was a good friend of mine, and many others. And to see Naog Park digging up the pool to put a splash park in when we could repair the pool and use it for its intended purpose. These guys are just wasting money, squandering it. They have no organization. They don't have any common sense up there. That's why I stopped this. There's money that could be going toward our tax base to help with the school tax, the pension funds, things like that. There's a source of money there, and it's a supply and demand. They need to park there. We're not trying to rape them, but what's fair is fair. We could be bringing in $400,000 a year for that parking space area up there than just throwing it away like we're doing. And that's why I stepped up to it, and I asked council support. There is a hearing in August to voice your opinions on it, because we're back now. It's about the city, and all the cards are on the table now. We've had enough of a black eye here, so to speak. It was nice to see Wayne on both sides of the table today, and the fact that he's made the statement he won't run in November or even take, if anybody votes for him, except that voting and all, that he's done in November. And it's a credible statement to make. So we all know where we're going in the fall. The issue with containers, Pat Hinton up here started, we went to court with him. We're still battling over containers in court yet. He hasn't filed one citation on anybody about the containers here in the city that he now calls structures. This is the game we're playing, and people wonder why people are talking about the corruption and everything else going on in the city. We need to negate his deal, if that's through the city or it's through the parking or park authority on his coffee shop up there. What he did was a backdoor deal. He's not entitled to it. Put it out where it belongs. Put it back. Let's put credibility back in this city. And that's what I think our whole goal has to be now, is put Scranton first instead of everybody else with all their nonsense and everybody pointing fingers. We got to do a hell of a house cleaning here, and it's not going to be an easy job for who's ever here now or into the future. The main issues with the rain tax, when I saw this thunderstorm coming down and all the rain coming down, they want to tax us. Well, if they want to tax us and they're the taxing body, excuse me, then the rain must belong to them. So should be the ones held accountable for the rain and the rain tax, not us because we have a roof over our home or a parking lot. Those that want to collect money for it should be held accountable because now it's their rain, not our rain. So they should be paying the price, not being rewarded for what they're doing. And I think we need to get on a bandwagon with everybody and put them in their place. We're not paying for God's gift, and that's rain. And that's the water we drink and the water we use on a daily basis and get taxed for it because of incompetence on their part. So I think that's where we need to go if we can go do that, but I'd like to see the containers, the citations put out there. You guys have put that on the table. You know, you passed it. Let's enforce it. And the other part is enjoy the vacation because it can be a hell of a day when you get back here with everything that we're going to have on our plate to do. And I have to leave early. I have meetings of my own to do today, so.
Thank you, Mr.
Take care,
Bowles.
gentlemen. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Our next speaker tonight is Gerard Hetman.
Good evening, good afternoon, Council. Gerard Hetman from Lackawanna County's Community Relations Department. Some good events coming up here in August and September to talk about. First, our 9th annual Heroes Day Public Safety Fair will take place on Saturday, September 14th, 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. at the Lackawanna County Center for Public Safety, better known as the 911 Center. The event is an open house at the facility featuring guided tours of the 911 Dispatch Center, static displays of fire, police, EMS, and military vehicles and equipment, as well as free refreshments. I look forward to putting this on again. The event went to PNC Field last year while the 911 Center was undergoing renovations, but it's now back at the 911 facility, so we're happy to see everyone there if they can make it. Second, our 8th annual Senior Health Fair will take place on Friday, September 20th, 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. at PNC Field on the suite level. So it is indoors, rain or shine, climate controlled, regardless of weather. The event features approximately 60 exhibitors dealing with a range of health screenings, giveaways, and information relating to senior health and wellness, and of course, free refreshments. Again, free parking, free admission, great day to come out and enjoy some really good senior health services. For more information, contact my coworker Caitlin English at 570-963-6743, extension 1875. Third, our Lackawanna County Commissioners Fall 2019 Blood Drive with the American Red Cross will take place on Friday, September 13th in the lobby at the Lackawanna County Government Center at the Globe. We're aiming to collect 24 units of blood or more. That will surpass our collection from the spring of this year when we tied our highest ever collection amount with 23 units. To schedule donation time, please call me at 570-963-6743, extension 1872. It was well received, I have to say. We had a number of people walk in earlier this year when we did the blood drive for the first time in the lobby at the former Globe store, now the Lackawanna County Government Center. So great convenient location for anyone living or working downtown especially to come out and give the gift of life with the American Red Cross. Fourth, our car seat safety check will take place on Friday, August 16th, 9:30 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. at McDade Park. Trained car seat technicians will be on hand to check installation and demonstrate use of car seats to parents, grandparents, or anyone using one in their vehicle. There's no charge, no appointment necessary. It is a first-come, first-serve event hosted by the Traffic Injury Prevention Project. I encourage you to visit www.pakidstravelsafe.org. That's all one word. For more information about the event and the PA Traffic Injury Prevention Project. Also, the Lackawanna Business Ready Workshop will take place on Thursday, September 5th, 8 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. at the Greater Scranton Chamber of Commerce. It's a free half-day workshop focused on helping small businesses plan ahead to prepare for natural or man-made emergencies or disasters. More than 40% of small to medium-sized businesses do not reopen following a disaster. This workshop will present the knowledge, tools, and contacts to keep your business an integral part of the community after a natural or man-made disaster may hit. The event is hosted by FEMA Region 3, the Pennsylvania Emergency Management Agency, the Greater Scranton Chamber of Commerce, Lackawanna County Emergency Management Agency, and the Lackawanna County Flood Risk Coalition. So to register, visit www.eventbrite.com/e/Lackawanna-ready-business-workshop-tickets- and the number 645-818-72118. It's a long URL, but it's a really good event. So if you can check it out, please make it. Again, any business, large or small, in the city or beyond is welcomed. Good opportunity to learn some tips and plan ahead for potential disaster. You never know when those things hit. And last but not least, the Penn State Extension Office in Lackawanna County will host their grand opening and an open house at their new location. This is Friday, August 2nd, 5 p.m. to 9 p.m. at 135 Jefferson Avenue in Scranton. That's the former Gateway Center building directly across from the Radisson Hotel. Coincides with First Friday Scranton, so come on out, learn about the good programs offered by Penn State Extension, many of which we talk about here. You can call them at 570-963-6842 for more information. And that's all we have. Thank you, and enjoy your recess.
Thank you.
Thanks, Gerard.
Our next speaker is Ron Ellman.
Yeah, thank you, Council. This, I know everybody saw it last week. This despicable headline, it's not in any sense a plan to save the city's school system. It's going to diminish our tax base. This outrageous dribble from a $144,000 so-called expert. You know, there's book sense like Mrs. Finnan has, and then there's common sense, which she doesn't have. We're facing all these coming taxes like the water tax, the stormwater tax will never go away. They started out at $25 a house, I believe. Now they're talking about every inch of property will be taxed. Churches, hotels, big buildings, you're talking about a fortune in taxes that's going to kill some people. I don't know. She's talking about her plan's going to give $20 million over 5 years and raise taxes. $20 million is a spit in the ocean compared to the $200 million debt. Then we're going to have the usual fires and abandonments and foreclosures, but she's not taking into consideration almost every week there's one or two large, these phonies under the Pure Charity Act. There's businesses I've never heard of. I've asked people, they're getting free taxes. There's a house by me a couple of years ago. Some organization out west somewhere gave it to this because the man's diminished, they said. It doesn't make a bit of sense. They were an organization that doesn't have nothing to do with the city, and it's a tax-free piece of private property right at Wells Street. I don't know. You people, I'm sitting here listening to Bazzoni. There's the man takes our money and runs to another city. He doesn't pay nothing on the school board. Nothing. He's a tax cheat. Just like across the street not paying for the Commerce Building, Jefferson. Nothing's ever done. Years and years he hasn't paid on that building, hundreds of thousands of dollars. Nobody seems to care. That should have been the first thing Mrs. Finnan addressed, is all these people like that are going under the Pure Charity Act that don't deserve it. That's a third of our taxable properties are gone forever. It's common sense. She doesn't have it. She doesn't care about this city. She's from Pike County. I don't know nothing about Pike County. I don't even know how many cities are there, towns. But she sure never talked to people on the street in this city, that's for sure. She's not helping the city. She's the problem for the city with this plan of hers. Last week, I think it was 5 people on the school board said they approved the plan. They didn't know what the plan was. This city is just falling apart. I hope our new mayor can do something. I was sitting here watching and listening to Mr. Bozzoni several times. He's been in here. You're going to sit there and tell me the man that the mayor broke a law in this city to hire, you're going to tell me the closest friend the mayor has, he didn't know anything that was going on? Is anybody going to tell me that? You're going to tell the people out there that, these people watching? He's a disgrace to this city. He doesn't even live here and pay taxes. He has to sit here telling the rest of us how to do things. He ought to be investigated. I feel he's innocent, he's proven guilty, I really do. I heard rumors months and months ago, and so did lots of people.
Well, thank you, Mr.
If you
Elman.
think about it, just give me 1 second. If you think about it, the last Monday night I stood here, I had coffee in the morning and I knew what was coming down. I stood right here and I said, Scranton is the crooked city, not the electric city, the crooked city. It is until you people, and we get some new faces in those seats that care about this city. Do something. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Elman. Our next speaker is Les Spindler.
Hey, Council, Les Spindler, city resident, homeowner, taxpayer. You know, after last week's meeting, your city clerk said I was disruptive and I shouldn't come to the meetings anymore. Well, you know what? You're damn right I was disruptive. When you sit up there and you want to say you want to restore the trust with the people and you put a dishonest person in as mayor, yeah, I'm disruptive. It makes my blood boil when you say you want to disrupt, when you want to restore the trust and you put another dishonest person in the mayor's office. That's unbelievable. And second of all, don't come to the meetings anymore. I guess your city clerk should read the First Amendment in the United States Constitution. That's my First Amendment right to come here to a meeting. And ask Judy Gatelli how it worked out for her when she tried to lock us out of here. The next week the ACLU was here and that put an end to that. I've been coming to these meetings for 17 years and I won't stop coming until I'm not able to anymore. And nobody's going to tell me not to. And speaking of the new mayor, everybody in the city knew you were going to pick him. It was a charade to have the interviews. Even Chris Kelly, who I don't care for, had it in the paper a few days before you picked Wayne Evans. He said, you're going to pick Wayne Evans. Everybody in the city knew it. You wasted everybody's time having those interviews where you knew you were going to pick him from the day he said he was going to run or put his name in. It was ridiculous to waste everybody else's time. There were a lot more qualified people than him that came here and wasted their time in front of you people. They could have been doing a lot of other things. Another thing, Councilman Rogan said that at the time, Councilman Evans did a great job as finance chair. Really? Every time somebody had a question for him, he never had an answer. And I brought this up before. When Frank Joyce was finance chair, I said, I've been coming to these meetings for 17 years. Frank Joyce was the best finance chair we ever had. Somebody asked him a question, he had the answer. And if he didn't, he had it the next week. He had all his facts and figures right in front of him, where Wayne Evans had nothing. And that's exactly probably what he's going to do as mayor, nothing. Next thing, driving through town last Friday was a nightmare. Who were the rocket scientists that decided to have a basketball tournament downtown and close off some of the busiest streets in the city? I tried to get to the Times building, went over Penn Avenue. That was closed, of course, because for a change, they're digging up Penn Avenue, like all the other streets in the city. Had to take a detour, tried to come down Washington Avenue. Took me 20 minutes to get from Mulberry Street to Lackawanna Avenue on Washington Avenue. They closed down Wyoming Avenue and Spruce Street. All the traffic coming off the expressway, coming out Spruce Street, had to turn down on Washington. Why don't they have the tournament somewhere else? If memory serves me correct, when it first started, it was up at PNC Field. Why don't they have it there? It would make more sense than closing off the busiest streets in the city on a Friday. It's ridiculous. You want people to come to town and you close off two of the major arteries in the city? Makes no sense at all. And, well, have it on top of the parking garages. Have it on the roofs of the parking garages. Don't close up the city streets and inconvenience the citizens that want to come here and park and maybe spend money. It's ridiculous. Take 20 minutes from Mulberry to Lackawanna. That's ridiculous. Oh, lastly, as I said it before, August 10th, at the Steamtown Mall outside Crunch Gym, if anybody's a wrestling fan, PPW is putting on an event. And it's going to be, I think it's going to be sold out maybe. So as of now, they've sold about 200 tickets already. So if anybody's into wrestling, I'd urge you to go. I've gone there every week when they're in Hazelton. And it's very entertaining. So anybody that's a wrestling fan, August 10th, 7 o'clock at the Steamtown Mall. Hope to see you there. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Ms. Spindler. Our next speaker is Dave Dobson.
Good afternoon, Council. Dave Dobson, resident, taxpayer. Once again, I'd like to speak on our former mayor. It's unfortunate what I seen when he first ran for office. People ran in with interests, provided all types of signage and contributions. Please, we have some elections coming up. It probably won't happen, but it's time for certain interests to just butt out. We don't need people from outside the city or the Chamber of Commerce or certain business interests coming in here, because that's where the kickbacks start. They start in the election process, and it gets corrupted from there. I hate to even say corrupted, but it's some people couldn't even possibly run, even though they're qualified. And it's time that the Supreme Court was very, very, very ill-advised to allow unlimited campaign funds. On Sunday night on MSNBC, there's a series at 9 o'clock, The Swamp, and it covers all of this dark money. Once again, with the sewer authority, I'd love to know why they didn't compensate us for the $15 million that had to be spent in 2016, or we would have undergone fines and penalties. So it's really important that that be brought to light. And with the DPW, I don't think I'm not looking for an audit to find gotchas, but it's time with all this trash consternation and over the bills, and it's time that an accounting of what these trash trucks and personnel and everything else gets accounted for to show, and I'm probably reasonably certain just by it. I don't look at it that closely, but a lot of this money is probably spent on exactly that: removal of trash and recyclables. And of course, recyclables right now, due to our trade war, have no value whatsoever. I know a person that doesn't have much of a retirement, and he collects metals, and steel was down to 6 cents a pound. You know? costs you more for gas than to take it. So but we really need, and hopefully you're sure that this is a good deal with the trash trucks. And by the way, in my court, McGinnis Court, behind the house, whatever trash truck comes through there's hydraulic oil leaking all the time into the alley, into the court. And that would indicate like a leaky hydraulic cylinder or a leaky hydraulic pump. And it's apparent that some of these repairs aren't being made, and maintenance. It's not good for the ecology, and it's certainly not a good practice to allow a truck roaming around. But the answer is not to always buy a new one. Take care of what we have. Just the same with City Hall. We don't need to go $5 million for something that hasn't really been appraised or as to the adoptability, and then abandon this building. It's just something we have to do. And furthermore, we really need the state to come in and start compensating for tax exempts. There's no compensation for it, and there's too many, and it just keeps growing and growing and growing. I'm not going to complain about a hospital. They saved my sorry many times. Thank you. Have a good night.
Thanks, Mr. Dobson. That's all the names on the sign-in sheet. Is there anybody else who would like to address council tonight?
Good afternoon, City
Good afternoon.
Council.
If you could just state your name and address for the record, please.
Yeah. Jeff Lebrowski, Scranton taxpayer. So I have a few issues with fourth floor with the licensing and permits. I don't believe anybody's doing their job up there right. We had a house fire behind us at 1218 Oliver Place, apartment building owned by Judy Hurley, K&J Real Estate. And another one of these properties that, you know, the landlord owns it, doesn't take care of it, just a big mess. And now we have a lot of damage to our house, which the house is still up, not torn down. I was told finally, after complaining for a week, making several phone calls down to the permit building and talking to several people. One was Jack Liptai, which couldn't give me any answers, and he's the West Side inspector. So why couldn't he give me any answers? He said Tom Oleski was on that. He was down at that fireplace. Tom did finally give me a call back after proceeding to call the health board because we have rats in the backyard now because of the rotten food in the house. It's been 2 weeks already. We can't even live in our home. I'm a taxpayer. Apparently, I heard that she don't even have to have insurance on her home. So now my insurance has to take care of that. We have to change some laws in the city. It's not fair to the people that are trying and doing the right thing. And then she even had the guts to tell me, sorry for ruining your effing paradise. Well, that's real nice. And she doesn't have to worry because she doesn't have to live there. There's an air conditioning hanging out of the window. Tom told me that if school was in, that it would be on a 48-hour demolition. Well, due to the school's not in, that's not the case. Well, what about the other kids that are in that alley? What about my granddaughter that can't even come over to my house because of the smell, the food rotten, the skunks? The dog got sprayed with a skunk. This city is going to hell.
Yeah, and what was the, I'm sorry, Jeff, it was Oliver Place, but what was the address on that? 1218.
1218 Oliver Place,
Okay.
yes.
Ms. Reed, can we get an update from Lip's department, from Tom, just so we get up to speed?
He had told
where
me that
everything's going on?
811 had to be called. That takes 3 days.
Okay.
Well, come on. You can't make an emergency on 811? You know what I'm saying? You can't pass these permits quicker?
Right.
Like, you have to be able to do something. It's already been 2 weeks. He told me not until next week. Now, that's 3 weeks that rotten food are sitting in that house. Those people didn't get that rotten food out. And then where's all the money that the mayor did take? Where does that money go? All that money that was missing, that doesn't go back to the taxpayers? I didn't hear nothing about
That's a whole
it.
federal issue, I have no idea.
Well,
That'll be something that'll come out during the investigation, I'm
people
sure.
don't even want to live here. I have a business here even, and I pay a lot of their money in taxes. I just wish that they would reamp the whole 4th floor, because nobody's doing their job up there. You're passing all these laws and all these rules and everything else, but there's nobody to do it. And that's what I've been told by them. I even offered my free time to go out and check these apartments that these people have in the city of Scranton to see if it's fallen down, condemned. Why can't you put a condemned sign on it? I have a house I'm afraid that this is what's gonna happen. There's a house up on 500, on 512th Street, burned 2 times. One, nobody knows, the next one was arson. The building's still standing there, boarded up. I don't know if you've ever been in a fire, but we have. We lost everything, and it stinks. It's hard to live there. Why don't you guys come over to the house tonight, and we'll sit on the back porch, and maybe have a beer, and we could all get sick together, because nobody wants to do their job. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody else who'd like to speak to council?
Marie Schumacher. I'll begin with my weekly report on property transfers. This week, in the county, there were 74 properties transferred, 15 of which were in the city of Scranton, or roughly 20%, and all but three again, would be below the CLR if you use the actual market price of the property with the assessment. Property values are really sinking, and this body's got to do something about it, along with, I would say, the school board. But at least the school board sends people once in a while to some of the meetings and challenges the conclusions that are made. But I have yet to hear of this body sending, or this city sending anyone. So a lot of work there. And then next, 7C, because no, 5. Has anybody reviewed that actual contract on the stormwater?
Yes.
You have?
Mm-hmm. The one that's on the agenda?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, and when is the deliverable?
I think it's 3 months or 4 months. They like to have everything done.
And is there any penalty for lateness?
Penalty in regards to the city?
Failing to meet the deliverable date.
I didn't see.
Remember what happened with Arcadis? It went a couple months, then a year, then.
Right. No, I didn't see any penalty in there. They have to get the MS4 permit complete by October 31st.
October 1st? That's
October 31st.
Well, there's lots of time. I would say. I'd rather see it done right, but. Okay. And I guess segueing with Mayor Evans and what Jeff just said, I would like to remind our new mayor that when he came on board, and the reassessment came up, he said he was going to fight for reassessment. He was going to be down there, he was going to be doing all these things. To my recollection, several of you people, including Wayne, went down to one meeting with the county. And yet, our property values continue to provide extra taxes for our taxpayers. Well, you don't get that common level ratio to go up 50% in 1 year. if there isn't some or many municipalities in this county that are getting a free ride on the backs of Scranton's taxpayers. Just because we are a big chunk of it doesn't make it right. And then, Mr. Evans also told us when people came, particularly Lee Morgan, about condemnations. And Mr. Evans said, yes, we know we have to do something about condemnation policy. We'll do that right after rental registration. Well, rental registration passed. The first revision passed. And now I believe you all are considering the third modification of the rental registration, and yet there is no condemnation policy revision. Same thing, quality of life. We're on the second version there as well. We need some action, and I hope that now that Wayne is in the driver's seat, he will see that these things get done before the end of the year. And then, again, this is sort of Mr. Evans's walkability. I did a right to know to ask how many tickets had been given out to pedestrians for jaywalking and going out from between two cars and doing all the bad things that pedestrians do. And you know how many there were? 0. This city is very dangerous. Coming down today, that one across from Chipax, there's a parking lot. Somebody wanted to come across. They just stepped right out in front. They don't even look. I mean, downtown. Out from between two cars. They're on their cell phones, looking at their cell phones. Again, don't even look. We have to get the police department to start giving some especially downtown, tickets to pedestrians for not crossing in the crosswalks, or somebody's going to be
Thank you, Ms.
killed.
Schumacher.
Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody else who'd like to address council?
Good afternoon. Lynn Lebrowski, Scranton, PA. So I'm just going to kind of mention a few things that my husband got up and also mentioned. We did have a fire behind our house. It was over 2 weeks ago. It stinks. If you've gone by a burned building or a house, you would know the smell. It's a little harder for us because we did sustain a house fire in 2012. And unfortunately, we didn't get out when we could have. We should have just ran with the money, but we bought another house in Scranton. We take very good care of our property. This 3-story apartment building that burned is owned by a landlord that owns multiple properties in the city of Scranton and the outskirts. She does not live in Scranton. She does not take care of her properties. I think that's a problem in this city, that there's people that don't live in this city, but they're making money off of these rentals that are not being taken care of. They're falling down. We had raccoons in the rafters of this apartment building, which literally sits in our backyard. We put up a pavilion for privacy because her tenants were literally hanging over their balconies looking into our backyard, asking could they swim in our pool. Sometimes there's kids, you know, very uncomfortable. Didn't even try to fix it up in the 7 years she owned it. She just collected 3 rents. It was a 3-story apartment building. We did reach out to the fire department, who said they were still investigating. We're still waiting on a cause of the fire. We'd like to know. Also, we reached out to the city. Mr. Liptai was slow in getting back to me. A week went by, he never got back to me. I did email Mr. Hinton, never received a return email. That was days ago. We did get finally a return phone call yesterday from Tom Oleski, who apparently was in charge of it. He's asking me now to give him till Monday because nobody really knows anything, but they said they are trying to get permits from 811, and had school been in session, it would have been down in 48 hours. We've been displaced for over 2 weeks now, and it could be another week or two, we don't know. So we're trying to run a small business in the city, and we have to turn our whole lives upside down because this happened and they're not getting it done quick enough. We were told that the danger signs were posted, which are actually stronger or better than a condemned sign. But the owners were there the very next day, sweeping up, moving debris, which I found out from Mr. Oleski. No one should have been on the property because of those signs, and also it's still under investigation. Did they remove evidence? We don't know how the fire started, so. But again, I was also told by Mr. Oleski that this particular real estate company that owns multiple properties, this was one of the better properties. And if you've seen it before the fire, it didn't look much better. So, bowed porches. I fought 2 years for a fire escape on this house because there was children on second and third floor, and that's how all the 6 victims got out of the fire, was through the fire escape. That took me 2 years to get that done. And it's not my apartment building, it's somebody else's. So it's sad. It's just sad that there's, and then like my husband had mentioned, there's another house up on 12th that burned in 16, was again set on fire in 17, it was arson. It's still boarded up. You could barely see the house. It's covered by so many trees and brush, and it's almost buried that you can't even see it anymore. The owner lives on a 20-something acre land in Clark Summit and has a $400,000 home. But he's telling me that OECD is going to pay to rip that down. It's on the list. Why isn't the owner of that property, who owns other properties, so there's assets there, why doesn't he have to rip it down? When we had a fire in 2012, we got a 10-day notice. Rip it down in 10 days or pay the penalty. And they escrowed our insurance for the tear down. Why isn't that happening with landlords? Apparently they only have to have liability. How is that fair to the city of Scranton when they have to eat the cost of tearing down these houses? Because there's not enough insurance, or the owner's not doing it. So it's just really, it's frustrating as a homeowner, as a business owner in this city, and a long life resident. So that's it. Oh, can I just mention one more thing?
Sure.
The permit we applied for the pavilion for our privacy, somehow came in the name of KAJ Real Estate, which is that apartment building that burned. So, but we applied for the permit, but the permit came in her name and her kid's own construction business, Hurley Construction, and they're licensed in the city of Scranton, contractors. So, it doesn't seem right to me. It seems shady, but.
I just want to say one thing. Councilman Donahue and I met with the mayor yesterday, and one of the things that he assured us will be on the agenda in September is a contract, whatever company they pick when the bids come in, to do a full review of that department. We've been calling for that now for quite a long time. That is going to be done in September. That process will be started. I know that's not going to help you now with your issue, but I did want to let you know that.
Great.
There should be changes coming soon.
It should be. Okay,
Yeah, and that's more of a long-term fix, but short-term, I know, we'll send a letter up to LIPS, and I'll also personally walk a copy down to the mayor's office, and I will come by, at some point before the end of the week, the end of the day and tomorrow morning to, assess and send him pictures too. I completely understand your frustrations, because I know we've had the same frustrations with a lack of response to things, and I know people throughout the city have frustrations, the same frustrations. So we're working to get it addressed long-term and to make sure that we do it right, but we will push what we can push, in the short term.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone else who'd like to address council?
Good afternoon, Council. Paul O'Hara, Building Maintenance with the City of Scranton. As you know, I was here a few months ago and spoke about the options of fixing up Scranton City Hall and also the opportunity that presented itself with the PenFed building down the street. Over the past few months, not a lot has changed. I realize the last month has been somewhat chaotic, to say the least, here at City Hall, but the issue has not gone away. Let me just take you back about 3 years ago. We had a study, an evaluation done on the exterior of the building. It was done by Masonry Preservation Services. They saw the poor condition of the exterior. They did a very thorough report on it to the tune of $10,000. So the city spent $10,000. They come back, they say it's about $4 million to repoint the exterior, fix the tower of Scranton City Hall. So that's 3 years ago. Now about a year ago, we get Highland in here, and we want Highland to tell us what's wrong, and we want Highland to do more thorough. Let's do inside too. Let's get a comprehensive study of City Hall. So they come back and they say it's 10.7 million. As when I was here at the podium, I told you that in their report does not account for replacement of windows. Most of the windows in this building do not open, and because of that, we do not get proper fresh air intake. Commercial buildings or buildings like this are supposed to have a minimum of 10% outside air. When they switched over from city steam, the vents under the windows were blocked. So currently, the situation we have is pipes are leaking throughout the building. Unfortunately, Highland didn't address that. Leaking in offices, multiple offices, on the ceiling blocks. In addition, we have rainwater coming in through the walls. In one department, we have buckets, 4 buckets. I just get emails, bring us more buckets when it's raining. These aren't ideal conditions for anybody, and it's certainly, you wouldn't want to work in those conditions. So what I'm saying is we have to move this forward, one way or another, and I understand you're a legislative body, and I'm not here as a, spouting off at you. I'm just saying we need to work together and come up with a solution. We either, my suggestion is this, either way we have to vacate the building. We can't have people in here while you rehab the building if that's the route we go. But either way, we have to address this issue. As I gave my sentiments in the past, $5 million for a building down the street that checks all the boxes of what would serve the people, drive-through, walk-in, parking, security. In the Penn-Fed building, the average public constituent would not walk in more than 10 steps inside that door, based upon how that could be and how it's kind of laid out. The elevator, you need swipe card access. It's the security. We don't have water leaking through, so we have a healthy environment, unlike the unhealthy environment we're in these days. So I thought the easiest way to solve this, you have an opinion, I have an opinion. I talked to Dave Balzoni. He said $5 million for that building, minor modifications, it's turnkey, we can do it with the debt service. This building, to do it right, if people want to preserve this building, is probably going to be anywhere from 11 to 15 million. 11 to 15 million, as Dave said, is a tax increase. Nobody wants to hear that. Lessons learned. This is a golden opportunity for the city to learn lessons from the county. Commissioner O'Malley woke up one morning and said, we're going to put 17 million in the Globe. Currently, all you hear is negative. No place to park, floors are uneven, chintzy because you got to pay the prevailing wage and all the high costs of government projects. Now he's going to be looking for a job in January. School district, they come out, they tell us 5 years, we're going to raise the taxes. You know what, let's go even higher than the maximum. Let's go to the court and see if we can get it higher. You have an opportunity with the mayor, and I just think it's a solution for all. Referendum. We're going to have on the ballot in November a bunch of names for mayor. Let the people pick the mayor, and let the people pick what they want. It's off your plate, it's off my plate, doesn't matter what I think, you think. They'll know it's either $5 million in a new building, or we move down to Penn-Fed or a building in the downtown and do this building right, which is going to be pretty expensive. But I just think it's in the best interest to solve this. We cannot have people with mold in the building, and we can't open windows, and we're trapped in this environment, and it's a disservice to the workers, but also to the taxpayers. Let them decide, Penn-Fed or revamp City Hall.
Thank you.
Please consider that to talk to the mayor about putting that on the ballot. I'd appreciate it. Thanks.
Is there anybody else who'd like to address council?
Official order, 5 motions.
Mr. Donahue, any motions or comments today?
Yes, just to touch on what Mr. O'Hora just brought up. As the first part of my process, when he came in the last time, I asked for a building maintenance plan. I've still yet to receive a building maintenance plan, which makes me think that there isn't a building maintenance plan. So if we don't have a maintenance plan to take care of this building, what are we gonna do? Just keep on jumping buildings? It just doesn't make sense to me. Also, just a couple issues on what Joan touched on, with residents, being frustrated with not getting a call back from the city with regards to flooding. Again, I have those same frustrations on that issue as well, because I know all of us have put in different issues with regards to requests on different issues with regards to flooding, and we haven't received an answer, and I'm hopeful that that will change with a new administration. And then also getting together with the school district on the payroll prep. We've already begun to start that process, but it's going to have to be more in earnest in the next few weeks. At the beginning of the week, I put in a couple requests to PA American Water with regard to storm drains being blocked, manhole covers, some issues with some manhole covers. I also put in a request with PPL about a telephone pole that was severed on the 1800 block of Pittston Avenue. I did that back in March or April, I believe, and it is still continuously getting worse, and to the point now where there's caution tape just wrapped around it, like that's gonna hold it together. But I also put one in on that. And a couple of new requests I have is the Manuka Playground. One of the neighbors had some overgrow from the park onto their property. So, Ms. Reed, would you be able to reach out to Parks and Rec and have them go assess that situation? And I also have got a complaint about road conditions on the 400 block of Beach Street. If we could have DPW go and check on those too, please. And that's all I have for today. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Gahan, any motions or comments?
Yes, first I just want to give my condolences to Judge Walsh's family, former mayor of the city of Scranton. Judge Walsh, based on everything I've read and people in my family who knew Judge Walsh, he had a real vision for the city. He was the epitome of honesty, integrity, and what it means to be a public servant. So my thoughts and prayers go out to Judge Walsh's family at this time. I've asked in the past few weeks for an update on the paving project in the city. It seems to me that we are later along in the process than has been the case in the last few years. The bids will be open August 14th, so we'll look at a timeline on when they're going to complete this project and a paving list, what streets are going to be paved. Also, I've requested in the last few weeks updates on 342 Harrison Ave, 107, 109 North Sumner Ave, 950 James Ave, Division Street between Kaiser and Dale, dangerous road conditions, and 824 Pittston Ave. So, Mrs. Reed, if you can please send that again. There are people who have called me on these properties who cannot get an answer from City Hall. And that's all I have this week. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gahan. I just have two quick things. Something I want to just talk about a little bit in regards to 1218 Olive Place. Mrs. Reed, that letter that we intend to send to Lip's department, can we also copy Al Lucas, the fire department? He possibly has some also information. If there's severe fire damage to that property, maybe we can elevate that and get that taken care of sooner rather than later, instead of waiting it and letting it just lag. If it's really a public safety issue and they deem it as soon as their investigation is over, then maybe we can get immediate action on that property. It sounds like they are in severe need of some help over there on Olive. And secondly, I forgot to announce a storing announcement, so I'll take the time right now to do it. This is one of my favorite events in the city all year. The Scranton Police Department's annual National Night Out will be held again this year on Tuesday, August 6th from 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. at Scranton High School. National Night Out is an annual community building event which promotes police and community partnerships to make our neighborhood safer and more caring place to live. This event enhances the relationship between neighbors and law enforcement while bringing back a sense of community. It provides a great opportunity to bring police and neighbors together under positive circumstances. So many times when you are dealing with police or fire, sometimes it's at the worst possible situation of your life, and you're not in the best place, and you know, it's always good to have this type of event to know that, you know, they're always on our side. There are going to be a lot of activities for the kids. Face painting, free fingerprinting will be available, an inflatable obstacle course, free food such as burgers, hot dogs, cupcakes, Rita's Italian Ice. Also, there will be K9 demonstrations with the kids absolutely go crazy over. The fire department's going to have their smokehouse as well as the Lackawanna County mounted unit. EJ to GJ will be the entertainment as well as Froggy 101. So every year it's a fantastic night, and this year it's going to be Tuesday, August 6th from 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. at Scranton High School. That's all I have today. Thank you.
5B, no business at this time. 6th order, 6A, no business at this time. 7th order, 7A, for consideration by the Committee on Public Safety for Adoption, Resolution Number 134, 2019, authorizing the mayor and other appropriate city officials to execute and enter into a memorandum of understanding by and between the City of Scranton Police Department and the Borough of Dunmore Police Department to implement a new use of force training program.
As chairperson of the Committee on Public Safety, I recommend final passage of item 7A.
Second.
On the question?
Yes, on the question, I had asked the administration where this match funding was going to come out of. Chief Graziano did respond that they are taking the $48,160 match out of the 2020 police capital budget, as they have plenty of time to spend the awarded grant funds. If they're able to maintain the same 2019 police capital budget level in 2020, they'll have sufficient funds without any increases to cover this cost, as well as the 2020 police civilian parking enforcement vehicle fleet program, as they do not have to purchase bullet-resistant vests next year like they had to the past 2 years. Thank you.
Thank you. Roll call, please.
Mr. Donahue?
Yes.
Mr. Gahn?
Yes.
Mr. Perry?
Yes, I hereby declare item 7A legally and lawfully adopted.
7B, for consideration by the Committee on Rules for Adoption, Resolution Number 135, 2019, authorizing the mayor and other appropriate city officials to execute and enter into a contract with Troy and Banks Incorporated for the City of Scranton utility and telecommunications audit services from April 30, 2019 through March 30, 2021.
As temporary chairperson for the Committee on Rules, I recommend final passage of item 7B.
Second.
On the question?
Yes, on the question, I just want to say that this is an interesting concept that the administration has engaged in here with the audit, bringing a company in to audit our electric, gas, telecommunication services. Just looking through the backup, one of the, in several of the case studies that Mr. Bolzoni and this company brought forward, just one example is the city of Buffalo, who brought this company in, and they ended up achieving a savings of greater than $1 million. Some of the other cities that are referenced had more modest savings. Glen Falls in New York, $261,000. In Virginia Beach, Virginia, $16,000. So it varies depending on what they find, but I think this is a good opportunity to have another set of eyes look at these bills and see if we can find any savings. So I'm hopeful that that happens. Thank you.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Donahue?
Yes.
Mr. Gahn?
Yes.
Mr. Perry?
Yes, I hereby declare item 7B legally and lawfully adopted.
7C, for consideration by the Committee on Rules for Adoption, Resolution Number 136, 2019, authorizing the mayor and other appropriate city officials to execute and enter into a contract with Herbert, Rowland, and Grubik Incorporated for the City of Scranton Stormwater Project Engineering Services.
As temporary chairperson for the Committee on Rules, I recommend final passage of item 7C.
Second.
On the question?
Yes, on the question. Mrs. Schumacher asked what the time frame of this was. I said 3 to 4 months. I might be incorrect on that. I was trying to look through the backup because I know I saw it. It is in there, but I can't find it right now. There's, I think, 80 or 85 pages of backup, but when I do, I'll send you an email. I think it's in the 3 to 4 month range, but I could be wrong on that. Secondly, you know, we've talked now for the past few years about stormwater management and this potential stormwater authority. I just want to make one point on this. The city does not have a choice in this whole process. We have to, first of all, make sure the MS4 permit is submitted on time, and second of all, we're going to have to address stormwater, because it is a mandate from the federal government. If we do not do this, if we do not look at whether we're going to form an authority or whether we're going to bring it in-house at DPW, if we just let it go, and people talk about the rain tax and how unfair it is, and I'm not doubting that or debating that. All I'm saying is the city has to make sure that we're doing this the right way. If we don't do it and if we don't take it seriously, we're going to end up paying fines from the EPA and the federal government. So we have to do this, and we have to do it the right way. I think after looking through the proposal here, this company was heavily involved in Wyoming, the Wyoming Valley Sanitary Authority. I was impressed with the backup and with the proposal, and this also went through a vigorous review process from a review committee that consisted of Dave Bolzoni, John Pocius, and Don King. So I'll be voting yes. Thank you.
Thank you. Roll call, please.
Mr. Donahue?
Yes.
Mr. Gahn?
Yes.
Mr. Perry?
Yes. I hereby declare item 7C legally and lawfully adopted.
7D for consideration by the Committee on Public Works for adoption, Resolution Number 137, 2019, authorizing the mayor and other appropriate city officials to execute and enter into a tax-exempt municipal lease purchase agreement between the City of Scranton and Manufacturers and Traders Trust Company for the lease of 2 new Freightliner Heil high compaction rear loader Durapack 5,000 trucks for the City of Scranton Department of Public Works for a term of 5 years.
What is the recommendation of the chairperson for Committee on Public Works?
As chairperson for the Committee on Public Works, I recommend final passage of item 7D.
Second.
On the question?
Yes, on the question, just to reiterate what I brought up last week, again, in this case, we really do not have a choice. We're down 4 trucks at this point, according to the DPW director and Mr. Bolzoni. Just again to reiterate last week, in order to fund the lease payment, we're going to use the $100,000 that was dedicated for the ESCO lease, the energy savings lease, that at this point will not require funding until 2020. So, thank you.
Thank you. Roll call, please.
Mr. Donahue?
Yes.
Mr. Gahn?
Yes.
Mr. Perry?
Yes. I hereby declare item 7D legally and lawfully adopted.
7E, previously tabled for consideration by the Committee on Finance for adoption. File of the Council Number 66, 2019, creating and establishing special city escrow account number is noted entitled Rental Registration Tenant Escrow to accept and disperse funds received from rental payments from tenants whose landlords have failed to comply with registering their rental properties in the City of Scranton pursuant to file of the Council Number 58, 2016, as amended.
What is the recommendation of the chairperson for the Committee on Finance?
As temporary chairperson for the Committee on Finance, I recommend final passage of item 7E.
Second.
On the question?
Yes, on the question. This legislation is simply setting up the account so that we can receive funds eventually when this program is put into place from the rental registration escrow. Councilman Donahue and I met with Mayor Evans yesterday, and he requested that we bring this back up because they want to get this program started. He assured us that when they are going to launch this program, he, along with the city solicitor and whoever else, will make a presentation to us and keep us in the loop on exactly what this program will look like and go through the details, which is what we had requested previously. They did provide us a draft document of what the letter to the landlord will look like, the letter to the tenant, and then the general letter that they will eventually send out. So I just want to make that point that, Mayor Evans again assured us that they will walk us through the process. This is not something that's going to be unveiled tomorrow, this program, but they will come back before council before they start this. So, thank you.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Donahue?
Yes.
Mr. Gahn?
Yes.
Mr. Perry?
Yes. I hereby declare item 7E legally and lawfully adopted. Oh, that's it, all right. If there's no further business, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Meeting's adjourned. That was what I was gonna do, but I'm like,